Today marks the release of one of the most exciting PlayStation 4 multiplayer games of the year, a game that's already been out on Xbox One and PC, and that is Crytek's Hunt Showdown. I want to talk a lot about this game, give you guys an insight into what the game offers before you spend your $40. So yes, this is a little bit more of a budget release at $39.99 instead of your typical $59.99, and I think that's going to make it rather advantageous for Hunt Showdown to pick up more of a following on PlayStation 4, because at the end of the day, as a multiplayer focused title, this is a game that's going to be reliant on its community, and depending on how many people are playing the game, that is going to overall enhance your experience. And it's definitely a game that if you're picking it up, ideally you would want to pick it up with a couple of friends. That's how you're going to get the best experience possible. That's why I've been saying that Hunt Showdown would be great as a PlayStation Plus game if you have been following this channel, but nonetheless, that's not going to be happening for quite a while. What you are getting out of Hunt Showdown is a rather atmospheric and compelling title, so let's give you guys all of the insight on the game. So what is it? It's a competitive first-person player versus player bounty hunting game with heavy PvE elements on top of that, and it's coming from Crytek, the makers of Crysis. So right off the bat, if you guys are familiar with Crysis, you know that that's a game that is really accentuated by its visual prowess, and that's something that really shines through in Hunt Showdown as well. The visuals are fantastic. It's just going to be rather interesting to see how the game makes the transition to the PlayStation 4 in terms of its performance, so that is something to note. Set in the darkest corners of the world, it packs the thrill of survival games into a match-based format all in one. Has you savage, nightmarish monsters roam the Louisiana swamps, and you are part of a group of rugged bounty hunters bound to rid the world of their ghastly presence. Banish these creatures from the world, and you'll be paid generously and given the chance to buy more gruesome and powerful weapons. Obviously, you enhance your character as you go. However, if you fail, death is going to strip you of both character and gear, so there is a lot of risk attached to the game, but there's also a lot of reward depending on how far you can get. Your experience, however, remains in your pool of hunters called your bloodline always, so the experience you have is going to transfer from character to character as you play, even if you die, but all your gear and whatnot, that is where you're really going to have to assess risk and reward, and that's going to create a greater level of tension in the game, and I think that's something that Hunt Showdown really does well, adding to the atmosphere of the game, getting it to absorb you into the title. It has a high level of tension. Hunt's competitive match-based gameplay mixes PvP and PvE elements to create a uniquely tense experience where your life, your character, and your gear are always on the line. At the beginning of each bounty hunt match, up to 12 players set out to track their monstrous targets depending on which mode and team options you've chosen. That 12 will include a combination of solo players and teams of 2 or 3. Once they've found and defeated one of these, they will receive a bounty and instantly become a target for every other hunter left on the map. If you don't watch your back, you'll find a knife in it, and your last memory will be of someone else walking away with your prize. So yeah, there you go. If you do die, you're gonna end up transferring your rewards to someone else, and that is a little bit of an unfortunate scenario. However, again, that adds to the overall tension of the game. The higher the risk, the higher the reward, but a single mistake could cost you everything outside of your skills, because that is transferred character to character. You don't have to entangle yourself into these long game mode matches. You've also got a quick play game mode that offers a shorter match during which up to 10 individual players race to scavenge gear and find and close 4 rifts as they compete for diminishing pool of bounty. First hunter to the final rift absorbs its energies but must survive the final countdown to complete the mission, while the other hunters attempt to take them out and take the prize for themselves. When the timer runs out, the winner keeps their hunter while the rest perish. The game also illustrates its progression mechanics. Even in death, you'll be able to progress among the ranks of hunters via your bloodline. Though one character may die, their experience will be transferred to your bloodline, where it can be applied to your other hunters. If you make it off the map alive, you'll be able to use the money and experience you earn to kit out new hunters and prepare for the next match. If you die, you lose everything but your experience. There's also a dark side component. Dark side allows hunters to see into the veil between worlds, making that which cannot be seen by mortal eyes visible to all who have been initiated. Use Darkseid when you are tracking monsters, and a ghostly light will guide you toward your next target. Darkseid also marks players carrying a bounty, making them more vulnerable to ambush while trying to escape. I also want to take you guys through a in-depth PlayStation blog post that really gives you a lot of insight on the game directly from the studio themselves. It notes Battle Royale meets supernatural horror in Crytek's Hunt Showdown, out tomorrow on PlayStation 4. That's the headline. It is out today officially. And I do want to know, while some would describe it as a Battle Royale game, don't go into it thinking anything like Fortnite or anything like any of the other Battle Royale titles you've played. I feel like Hunt Showdown is unique in its way and how it presents the gameplay. And one of the big elements in terms of presentation with Hunt Showdown is the sound design. Again, immersion is such a big element of this game. That atmosphere, I think they do that better than a lot of other multiplayer games. And when talking about the general approach to sound design, audio director of Hunt Showdown, Florian Fussel, said this: "We built Hunt's soundscape around 3 pillars: feedback, immersion, and emotion. These 3 pillars come together to create the full audio experience. Feedback is the audio language that is readable to the player. What was that sound? Where is it coming from? Is it dangerous? We wanted to enable players to make decisions based on the sounds they hear around them. As for immersion, we want players to really be transported into the world, so 1895 Louisiana, and for that world to be as believable as possible. So the ambiance has to reflect the hot, humid weather, and the equipment has to have that gritty, haptic, heavy, mechanical feeling of that Arsenal back then, both in look and in sound. Though grounded in reality, all of the sounds are designed to be larger than life to add emotion to the mix. For example, guns need to sound more beefy to give the player a satisfying feeling of power or of fear. If they are on the wrong side of the barrel, our monsters and creatures are also not audibly distinct, but also sound creepy and scared to create an uneasy feeling and tension to keep the players on their toes. Sound is a big method players can use to track other hunters, but it also inspires a sense of paranoia. When you hear sounds, you know there are other players nearby, and when you make a sound, you know the others can hear you. It's all pretty tense, and it all plays a big part in building the game's tone of supernatural horror. Whenever I talk about immersion and atmosphere to the game, there's a lot of elements that come into play, and a lot of you guys are going to directly go towards visual style and a lot of presentation elements, and yes, visual style is important, but I would argue that sound design is as important as any other, and really to immerse someone, that sound design has to be on point. And not only does it have to be on point, it has to add to the overall authenticity of the world that the game is trying to establish. And I feel like Hunt Showdown has a very distinct art style, and the sound design needs to complement that really well, and I do feel like they nailed it with this game, and that adds to the overall level of immersion. They also talk about other design methods they use to build up that tone of supernatural horror. Dennis noted, "Very early in the project, we saw the opportunity to create tension by depriving players of information, keeping players guessing about who else might still be in the game or where the next threat would come from. Helped us to instill a healthy level of paranoia. Unless you counted all the dead bodies, you could never be sure that you had cleared the map. So the feeling that an ambush could be awaiting around every corner never goes away. Sound played a big part in achieving this. For example, we made sure that gunshots could be heard across the entire map, and that there would always be the chance that another team might pick up the sound of barking dogs or the frantic whinnying of the injured horse you accidentally triggered a moment ago." Florian added, "Indeed, all the sounds you hear during a match of Hunt are coming from a real source, and they accentuate realistically over distance. There is no fake. If you hear crows taking off or a barrel exploding, you know that another player caused it. We also have a high dynamic mix so that loud things stand out and give players a realistic sense of how loud they are. That's why hearing nothing special can create more tension as an intensive firefight. It is too quiet to be true." I feel like that adds such an extra layer to the game that makes me more compelled to recommend this game in terms of its presentation and its sound design. I think that element they really nailed with Hunt Showdown. And if you want some tips for survival, they also go into that, noting what is the best strategy for surviving a round of Hunt and how can sound help players with their strategy. Dennis noted, "We took a lot of inspiration from survival games where players are roaming across scarcely populated areas or wilderness and only occasionally meet other players, and we combined that with match-based gameplay with clear objectives and competition. Within that framework, we wanted players to be able to decide how much they want to risk. Are you going to take out other players, or do you want to play it safe, collect some XP, and get out with your hunter alive? There are a lot of strategies that can pay off, and again, this adds to the layer of risk and reward, and that's something that there's no accurate way to assess it. That's going to be something for you to decide depending on how comfortable you are with the people you're playing with, how good do you think you're at the game, and do you think you're better than the people that you're playing with based on what you've assessed from the game thus far? A lot of elements to assess, and they're all dynamic. You're gonna have to dynamically assess that as you play the game, and taking big risks can reap big rewards, but they can also cost you your hunter. Of course, this can mean that sometimes you might want to avoid a fight and stick to the shadows. Either way, you're gonna want to listen to the world around you and use that information to your advantage. Florian also added, audio can help you big time on the tactical decision making. You can hear weapons firing and explosion across the whole map, and you can use that information to guess at how many hunters are still out there. Is that the sound of a team in a firefight, or is that a lone wolf trying to take out a target? We've seen a lot of different strategies from guns blazing so everyone else is afraid to engage, to super stealthy, to stay undetected and wait for the right moment. That is going to give you a lot of various elements in terms of how you play the game, and I always like that. I always like a multiplayer game that, yes, while I talk so much about the presentation and how it gets you immersed into the world, and I think for Hunt Showdown, in this game, based on the setting and the vibe that it's going for, I think more so it's important than a lot of other games. Like, it doesn't really matter if a game like Fortnite immerses you. I'm not trying to hate on Fortnite, but it doesn't matter if that game really immerses you into the context of the game. However, in Hunt Showdown, based on the atmosphere and the vibe that it's going for, it does need to immerse you into that world, and there's a lot of little nuances and decisions that they've made that you might not notice right away. However, it does add an extra layer to the game, but they also have this essence of variety in the game in terms of how you tackle each objective and how you tackle each game mode that is going to add a level of variety in your gameplay mechanics, and that's going to take you a little while to fully comprehend and understand. But that's going to conclude this video. I hope I gave you guys enough of a rundown so you can decide whether or not you pick up Hunt Showdown. It is out today for $39.99. Maybe don't pick it up day one. It is a game that I'm going to pick up day one because I do want to play it with a couple of friends, but at the very least, add it to your wish list, wait for a sale, or maybe if it is a plus title down the line, it would be a great pickup then. I think it would be awesome as a plus title, but that's looking way, way far into the future. I'm not trying to wait that long, and I'm sure many of you aren't either. So Hunt Showdown is out today. Definitely give it a look and check it out for yourself. That's going to conclude this video. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.